Alright, let's talk about the newest Havoc sub DPS added to Wuthering Waves, Roccia, to where she is an amazing support for Camellya. And in this video, we're going to talk about her kit, teams, and rotations, so that way you know everything that you need to know before you row. So let's go ahead and talk about her kit. So her main mechanics are her Forte bar, her Resonance Liberation, and her outro. So what you're mainly trying to do is fill up her Forte bar, which has 3 stacks. That way you can take full advantage of her skill. So let's discuss the best ways that you can fill up her Forte bar. So you get 1/3 for introing in, you get 1/3 if you quickly do a basic attack afterwards, and you get 1/3 for casting your skill. This is going to be your basic combo for filling Roccia's Forte bar. Once this is completely full, this is going to allow you to do the maximum bounces once you cast her skill, which is going to greatly fill her Concerto and also help cast your Resonance Liberation. So now let's go ahead and talk about her Resonance Liberation. So her Resonance Liberation gives the main character an extra 200 attack if she has over 70% crit rate. So when building your Roccia, don't forget about Shorekeeper, to where she also gives you an extra 12.5% crit rate when you intro into a different character, once her Resonance Liberation is cast. And lastly, we have our outro, which increases the incoming Resonator's Havoc damage by 20% and their basic attack damage by 25%. It also allows your utility skill to cast a mini vortex, helping you group enemies. So now let's go ahead and talk about her build. So the main thing that you're going to be looking for is trying to get 70% crit rate. That way you can give the maximum buffs for Camellya. But again, if Shorekeeper is on the team, don't forget to factor in 12.5% crit rate. Once you reach the needed crit rate that you need, then you can try to get as much crit damage as you humanly can. Because again, she is a sub DPS, so she does do quite a bit of damage. But you also want to make sure that you have enough energy recharge to cast a Resonance Liberation every rotation, so I recommend that you get somewhere between 100 and 20% energy. And lastly, if you can get any heavy attack damage, that's just going to make her stronger. So now let's go ahead and talk about her Echoes, to where you can either go with the Moonlit set or the Midnight Veil set. You might find it easier to build Roccia with the Moonlit set due to the extra energy recharge it gives, but if you want your Roccia to do a little bit more damage, you can always go with the Midnight Veil. For the boss Echo, if you're using the Moonlit set, you're going to want to go with the Impermanence Heron. That way you can further buff Camellya once you intro into her. But for the Midnight Veil, you're going to want the Nightmare Impermanence Heron, which will allow you to do some extra damage before introing into Camellya. So when it comes to the main stat, it's generally going to depend on how much crit rate you have on Roccia. If you find yourself struggling to get enough crit rate, then you might want to go with the crit rate main stat. But depending on your weapon, or if you pair up with Shorekeeper, you might be able to get away with crit damage. For your 3-cost Echoes, you're going to want Havoc damage, but you could also consider attack. And for your 1-cost Echoes, you're going to want attack. So now let's go ahead and take a look at her ideal weapons. Of course, her signature weapon is going to be the best one for her, due to the fact that it increases attack and it greatly increases her heavy attack damage. But this weapon is not very universal and it's not that great for other characters besides being a stat stick. Other than that, you can consider Zhang Liao's signature weapon, to where it's going to increase her attribute damage as well as greatly increase her Resonance Liberation. You also could consider the standard 5-star weapon, but it does not have crit rate as a secondary stat, and its only other benefit is that it's going to be giving you extra energy recharge. And for the 4-star weapons, you have a few options. You can use Celestial Spiral, which will help you get some more resonance energy as well as increase your attack. Hollow Mirage, to where the passive is not that great, but at least it increases your attack. And you could even consider using the Mercado, to where it might even help you shorten her rotation. Next, let's focus on her skill priority. You want to focus on leveling up her Forte, then you want to do her Liberation, and then you want to level up her skill. Her intro and her normals does not do that much damage, so you don't really need to focus on leveling these. Which brings us to her teams. Now, her only really hyper carry is Camellya. Besides that, the only other resonators that she can benefit is Havoc Rover or Donjon. But of course, this could change in the future. And when it comes to healers, the best healer in the game is Shorekeeper. This is due to the fact that she increases the crit of the entire team. For the Echo set, you're going to want the Rejuvenating Glow set. And for the boss Echo, you're going to want Fallacy of No Return, which further increases her energy recharge and it increases the team member's attack. Your second choice would be Verena, using the exact same set and the exact same boss Echo. Which brings us to her sequences, to where S1 allows you to have quality of life, to where it gives you an extra bar when you cast your skill, and it gives you damage interruption, which can be pretty helpful because she is knocked out of her skill pretty easily. S2 gives a big Havoc damage buff. S3 increases her crit rate and crit damage, making her easier to build. S4 increases her damage, S5 is a small boost in damage, and S6 is a giant boost in damage. Finally, let's showcase how she's going to look in a team, using Camellya and Shorekeeper as her teammates. So you want to start on Camellya and cast her Echo, then you want to switch to Shorekeeper and do her basic attack combo 2 times. You want to cast her skill, then her Echo, then activate her Resonance Liberation, and intro into Roccia. Quickly do a basic attack, and then cast her skill, and do 3 bounces. Then cast her Liberation. Activate her Echo and intro into Camellya. Quickly press her skill, and then cast her Liberation. Hold attack until her Forte bar is depleted. Cast her skill, and then hold attack until her bar is almost depleted. Cast Caster skill, then her Echo, and then intro into Shorekeeper, and then rinse and repeat. But do note that you won't have to do that many basic attacks to fill up her Concerto. Lastly, let's discuss some of the flaws that Roccia has. You're a bit incentivized to get S1 because she's so easily knocked out of her skill when she casts it. But by holding a heavy attack and getting one charge, you can simply go back to bouncing. So S1 is not necessary. Also, her signature weapon is very powerful for her, but it's not a universal weapon and most other characters on your account won't really be able to benefit from it. Also, a fully sequenced Sanwa is very close to Roccia's damage. Due to all these facts, unless you really like Camellya, you might want to skip on Roccia. But with that, you should know everything that you need to know before you roll. So, are you rolling on Roccia or are you waiting for those future characters? But with that, I'll talk with you guys later.